Hey guys, it's Masa. I'm here to talk to you about one of my most anticipated titles for 2017, For Honor. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, For Honor is a new combat game created by our friends at Ubisoft. The game takes place in a fictional world where three factions, Vikings, Knights, and Samurai, are all waging war on one continent. If you've never heard anything about For Honor prior to watching today's video, well, you're in luck. There's actually going to be an open beta running this weekend from Thursday, February 9th, all the way until the 12th. That's ending just 2 days prior to the game's release on Valentine's Day. So if you already have plans, cancel them because we're playing For Honor. So before we dive into the tips, I just want to stress to you guys that this isn't your typical button smashing fighter. Ubisoft has actually developed a new system known as the Art of Battle that takes into consideration the stance both you and your opponent have with your weapon or shield. There are three basic stances: left, top, and right. By matching the attacking position of your opponent, you can guard against their attacks by deflecting or, with perfect timing, parrying their attacks, which leaves them open for a counter. Likewise, if you select a stance that your opponent isn't in, you'll be able to penetrate their defense and score a good hit that can change the tide of battle. Now that we've covered the lore of For Honor and also talked about the unique battle system known as the Art of Battle, we can dig into the tips that are going to help you be successful in this week's open beta. Tip number 1, and I can't stress this enough, you need to practice. You remember at the beginning of the video when I said For Honor is launching with 3 different factions? Well, each faction is going to be made up of 4 different heroes with their own unique playstyle. I recommend in the beginning that you limit yourself to one hero after you've gotten a feel for the different class types available. Will you be a balanced vanguard leading a charge into the front lines? Or do you prefer to play an assassin class, using damage over time to the best of your ability to destroy your enemies before returning to the shadows and pouncing on your next victim? The choice is yours. It's important to make sure you understand what combos can be unleashed with the selected hero before you can truly expect to be effective in PvP combat. I recommend playing a few rounds with your new hero against the AI. This will give you a chance to become familiar with your hero's animations as well as the combos that are available. Ubisoft has also provided some how to play videos on each hero's summary page. The videos encompass the pros and cons of each class, as well as letting you know the best techniques that you can use to outsmart your opponent. Tip number 2, managing your stamina. You remember when I told you that this isn't your normal button smashing fighter? If you go all crazy and unleash a fury of attacks on your opponent, then you'll run the risk of losing all of your stamina, the green bar just beneath your health on the HUD. You'll know this has happened because your screen will fade to black and white as your hero gasps for air. While in this mode, if you're not careful, your enemy can guard break you and knock you over. This will leave you completely helpless to any attack they can come up with, which is usually a heavy attack. Also, you never know when you may have to make an escape from multiple enemy heroes, especially if you're playing in a 4v4 game type like Dominion. Now, before we dive into tip number 3, which is learning the map, I just want to highlight a cool feature that's going to be in For Honor. Earlier I said the factions will be waging war with each other to win territories. Well, this will actually trickle over into the multiplayer as well. Maps that you play on all the time will actually change depending on which faction controls it. For instance, this castle is currently controlled by Vikings, which is why you see so many Viking items, and the environment is snow. If the Samurai faction were to win this territory from the Vikings, then it would impact the environment as well. Maybe changing the snow to fog or rain. That's something that's going to have to be seen in the final game. Which leads us to the topic of map construction. Whenever you enter battle with the enemy hero, you want to make sure you know what's going on around you. The maps in For Honor are full of traps, ledges, even spike walls of death that can be used to your advantage or be your demise. If you're unfortunate enough to be pushed into a spike wall, just know that this will result in an immediate death, just like being pushed off a ledge, so be wary of your surroundings when dodging. It also helps to have an exit strategy in place, just in case the enemy team decides to fight without honor and force you into a 2v1 situation. You always want to make sure you can maximize your chances of survivability. Tip number 4 has to deal with the game mode that was very popular in the closed beta for For Honor, and that's Dominion. Dominion is the 4v4 domination-like game mode that everyone loves to play because it's so chaotic. However, there are some things that you should take note of before venturing into this game type. The two teams compete over 3 points. Points A and C are closest to the respective team spawns, and point B is won by eliminating enemy soldiers. The enemy soldiers you can think of as Dynasty Warrior trash mobs. Once you eliminate the enemy soldiers, your soldiers will gain momentum and push them back. Essentially, it's a bloody version of tug of war. When a team reaches 1,000 points, their army is able to break their opponents. This means if all 4 heroes on the enemy team are defeated, the game is over. It's important to take note of the score because if the broken team is able to recover a captured point and decrease the winning team total to be below 1,000, they'll rally and get revived. Last but not least, we have tip number 5, which is simply, don't be discouraged. This game is bringing in all sorts of new features and elements that many gamers won't be familiar with. So it goes without saying that there's going to be a steep learning curve that comes with it, be it against enemy players or even about level 2 or 3. At some point, you're going to be outplayed. The key is to not get discouraged. Just revisit your favorite hero's moveset, or try playing as a hero that always gives you trouble. This will help you learn their attacks, their feints, and their animations, which will help further prepare you for battle because you already know what your opponent is capable of. Well, that's all I have for you guys. Hopefully you remember the tips that I gave you. Practice makes perfect. Always practice good stamina management. Be aware of your surroundings. Play the objective game modes correctly, and never let your inner warrior be defeated. I'll include a link to Ubisoft's website in the description so you can access the open beta. And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more great videos on For Honor. This is Masa, signing out.